Welcome
Action.
to our podcast, everybody. Welcome to our podcast.
Yes. Brian, just for the benefit of people who haven't seen or heard you before, you've got a couple of jobs, right? Like right now you're not in
Yeah,
the
right now
direct
I've been
union.
working with people. I've been working with people who have special needs since 1999. So I've been in the construction industries now for since 1999. So thank you very much, guys. I've been doing that. Doing comedy. I've been doing comedy for about 3 years now, and it's a struggle, but it's fun and it's challenging. And then also we're doing this, and I'm learning a lot of stuff from Martin, and I'm glad that I get to shadow you again. We first met back in the early 2000, and I had worked for you at HC MatCon. I was a foreman. I had a couple guys. I had a welder, and we did a whole bunch of different things for you. So we worked in the steel industry. We worked in the concrete stuff, underground stuff. So we did a lot of big construction, a lot of big things. So I'm really glad to be a part of this podcast as well.
That's great, Brian. Were you joking about working with people with special needs, or is that just your joke about construction people?
That's part of my act. That's how I open up the
Oh, do
show.
you?
I tell everybody that I work special needs and that they're always giving me a hard time. And it's most difficult with them when we're waiting for the concrete truck because there's a lot of downtime and they're making fun of me and stuff. And then that's when people realize that I'm talking about the concrete workers because they're always waving their arms and making a bunch of noise all the time. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things with my comedy. I kind of take people down a certain path and then I flip it around and people are taking me seriously for a second and then all of a sudden they realize I'm joking, right? That's my shtick.
Brian, do you remember Jess Goddard's joke about the construction guys with the signs?
Yeah. So Portuguese kids, I don't know if you know this. Jess Goddard said this was a great joke. And she said that growing up Portuguese was really hard because on Saturdays we would all have to wake up early and go to Portuguese school, and Portuguese school, a lot of us, we all went there. And it's really tough for a little kid at 7 years old to be pouring concrete that early, right? So that's our joke. And it's fantastic. Jess Goddard, amazing,
Mm.
funny, really funny girl. She's Portuguese, but she looks very Canadian, very white. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of jokes that she has. She's a great comedian. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're a part of that. It was my birthday show. We had a birthday show in Cambridge. We had
Yeah.
two sold out shows, and then we had a BS show. So the BS show
Yeah.
is when it's almost like Kill Tony. It's like an open mic, and we have a couple of judges, but the judges actually do comedy as well. So it's really fun. So it's a fun show. So yeah, we had a great time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to give honorable mention to Jim Kaler. He's Chem Concrete USA.com, and he has all of the USA. Good luck to him. I mean, in my opinion, I recommended him for a job, but Sam, who I had met first before he met Boris, Sam wanted me to order a container, and I said, well, I really didn't. Well, I wanted to wait till the testing was done, and then bang, Boris was
mm,
in, and I was left pushed over. But I'm okay with that because I'm pretty busy. I got a lot of other things, and it's his patent. He can decide what he wants, right? So,
yeah.
the shearer, who I'd hoped would join us, I told him, no, it's all good. Like Jim and Boris didn't want to join with him because on his LinkedIn, he has like Chem Concrete stuff left over from when he worked with Sam, kind of a
Uh-huh.
back, wallpaper.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
a nice fella. And what I was looking forward to was the fact that he's Pakistani. So I thought that would be interesting. Um, the English isn't quite as good as our friend Mohammed, but
Mm.
close, close. He seems like a good gentleman. The he had sold for a while. When that first came to Canada, before he found us as potential reps, distributors, he had Bashir, who he known through the crystalline industry. Like crystalline is considered the market leader in terms of what engineers reach for, but it's only 30% waterproof. And Chem Concrete is 95% waterproof. So it's a game changer. And I'm going to flat spec it on my FEH tool lock FEH tool lock wall, my waterproof wall. It's one of my better patents. I think it's one of the reasons Keller's quite interested. And so Dante, when we do the show notes, we should get the phone number for Boris.
Okay.
Like his coordinates, and also I can give it to you.
Want to give out his
also,
coordinates?
oh, Jim. Well, they want to. Hey, if they're the lead dogs in sales, they got to live with the number being out there, right? They can always tell people, "Don't call me again." They can be rude to them, but if they want to sell something, they got to talk to people.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, I was always fearless about sales. I would always, no problem, I'll pick up the phone. Right.
Now the
You're
thing
probably
with the
same
Chem
way, Brian.
Concrete, yeah, the thing with the Chem Concrete that's unique from normal concrete is that it's almost waterproof, like 95%, you said?
95, and the best second place is 30% waterproof, which
Yeah,
is still, and the cost of it, Chem Concrete is 5 nano. So it's being made in Sudbury today by Boris's group, but it's 5 nano, and they end up with a yogurt. So the yogurt, it's like gray, and it has about a 3 to 6 month shelf life. So you basically make it to order, ship it down the highway to a Toronto ready mix company, and they can easily integrate that into ready mix. Like ready mixes have liquid admixtures, and it just sort of goes into that liquid admixture system.
Are we adding to the concrete mix, or are we removing something and replacing it with this Chem Concrete?
No, we're actually the concrete mix. Good question, Brian. The concrete, a concrete usually has 3/4 stone, gravel, sand, like, you know, different types of aggregate, and then it might have certain chemicals. But Chem Concrete is a game changer in the sense that it's all you need. I've been looking at. I joined CH Shotcrete up.
So wait, you replace the stone, you replace the sand, and you put Chem Concrete.
No, the stone and sand, it's the same as standard mix.
Okay.
The only difference is you don't have a lot of other chemicals. You don't have crystalline.
So you don't add Portland? You don't add the Portland?
Oh, no, no. Good questions, Brian, because, you know, it's the obvious. You're being paid here, or not paid.
Yeah.
But you're being the practical guy. You're asking the right questions.
Correct.
So and someone like Mohammed is learning by your questions. So
correct.
It's true that any viewer could learn. So you might have a mix that actually the nature of Chem Concrete slurry is that you can reduce the amount of Portland. So you can use less cement, which is a very popular thing. You know, it might be 10 or 20% less cement. So the key is the mix design. Once you get it, once you, like I'm going to be able to specify the mix designs on my own patents. And for, you know, we're leaning in on that. I had invited, William was quite involved in this right from the word go with me. So he's a shotcrete guy, and we want to do finish wall, and my FEH tool lock patent, it uses the strength of Chem Concrete in terms of its impermeability, and we replace blindside waterproofing. So basically
you make a layer of Chem Concrete like this, and then you put another layer of Chem Concrete against it, and they kind of interlock a certain way.
Well, yeah, they're like shotcrete. If we had the details, we could, if we were ready, we could have details being shared. But you had the details at one point in time, I think, Dante. But the it's hard to draw that out of a previous episode for sure. So it's 2 layers of 5-inch shotcrete, and part of the patent is called a feather edge. So I do a feather edge and I interlock the two layers, almost like a quilt. So you
And
end
that
up with
feather edge is, I guess, done by hand. We would wipe that by
yeah,
hand.
that's right. Yeah, you
Okay.
basically it's a wood float, right? And then if you're doing final wall, we bring it to a steel trowel. Like if you
Correct.
did
To make it flat.
yeah, like I'm replacing secant walls with $100 a square foot savings. So
Correct.
normally we do secant
Superior
walls.
product too. Superior product. 15 years it lasts versus 5 years or whatever it is.
Well, it depends on what warranty. I think, I'd probably charge for the warranty, but 5 and 15-year options would be realistic. I don't think it'd ever
Correct.
be because my details allow me to put a mirror drain strip. So it's always draining. It's always draining. How can it poke water out the front or into the garage? So a lot of times people have problems with garage slab pores. They shoot final walls sometimes in front of a secant wall. But then when the
Yeah.
water in the secant wall or when the bottom of the you get one floor meeting another floor, when that's not done properly, it's dirty. There's enough QA
Correct.
applied to it. So if you avoid that and build your waterproof wall first, then we can put a night in the dry, we can shoot a final shotcrete and use
Mhm.
steel trowel. And that might be, 10 inches thick with 15 mDowell's tube direction sort of thing. In my opinion, it'll never leak. That's
Mm.
I've slept it. I know
So
the
you're putting
details pretty
concrete,
well.
you're putting Chem Concrete against Chem Concrete. Is there a membrane or something in between or
No,
anything? Or so
no membrane. But
why do
how's
we
it
have to do
bond?
two pours? Why couldn't you just do 10 inches thick one shot? Like why wouldn't it do
Well,
that?
because the way the joints work, you have a feather edge. Every panel ends up with a 2-to-1, like almost like a tapered edge. So you
Hmm.
kind of want to interlock your tapers. You can go. We can share those details with you, Brian, and I'll spend more time with you to teach you that because
Yeah.
you're going to end up being on the cruise when
Correct.
we get going with. I'm quite sure we're going to get going with Keller. So when
Hmm.
William and I have a deal where we're going to present, we've decided to get the deal closed. We're gonna offer Keller our services. So I would
Correct.
go, William would go, and we would just go work for them. And then
Yeah.
I'm going to promise them a 2-year payback because I know the amount of money you save is like millions.
Hmm.
You save millions
Hmm.
over secant wall, and you don't need to spend any money on water.
No.
But
Oh, and
you have
that's the
to
thing. It's replacing the waterproof, and the waterproof is a whole step in itself.
now. Well, Mohammed, could you go to my website and maybe we can look at some of the details? That's something that you could probably stick handle that, eh?
Um,
It, it's
do you want me to?
footprintengineering.ca.
Okay.
I don't know who's controlling the thing now, but the in terms of
I
whether
do
it's
have
William,
one of the, I'm just looking for
It was
um
a couple of shows ago. It was like 3 or 4 episodes ago.
yeah, I got it here.
Yeah.
It's
And it's going to show the
yeah,
two.
they're perfect.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
you see how
Okay.
they're both they're basically it's a taper, a feather edge detail goes from
And
5 inches
what's the
to
purpose?
0.
What's the purpose of that? Is that for moisture to go through there?
Well, you notice how the hatch lines, no, that you've got two tapers. Like you basically don't have the joints in the same spot. So you got two 5-inch layers with joints that don't match. So
Yeah.
and the bond between concrete to concrete is generally about 2,000 pounds
Oh,
a
that's it.
square foot in tension. Like, if you poured one slab on top of the other, Brian, good luck pulling them apart, right?
Yeah.
So,
And so just for everybody at home, so we would pour one of those, right, up to one of those slots, right? And then we'd pour the other one just beneath it, in front of it, kind of thing. And then you would go to the next floor and you'd keep going
yeah,
up. And
you
that's
look
why
at,
it has those slots. I understand why it's like that now.
yeah. So
So that
when you
you don't
shoot
have that on
panel,
your main wall. You try to do a full shot, but where it is, as long as it's tapered, it'll be sealed. Is what that is.
right? And like when you're doing panels, you're working 5 feet high, right, Brian? So as
Correct.
much as a man can stand, except you're just
Correct.
telling them, okay, just wood float that edge out to, from 0 to 5, and then
Yeah.
you jump 5 more feet, right? So you end up
Yeah.
being able to interlock the first and the second layer.
And how
First and
long is
second
that
layer.
taper? Is that like if it's 5 inches thick, is that like a foot
Well,
of a taper?
well, good question, but you see, it's called a feather edge detail. You'd be about 10 inches. So you would be
Okay.
2 to 1. So if you're five
Makes sense.
inches, you could taper it up 10. And that's normally
Yeah.
the way shotcrete is. You put your wood float to it, roughly, it's going to work
Yeah.
out that way.
And you basically just float up and you rub it into an edge. Done. Like you rub it to an angle
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, like
Try to.
once you shoot
Yeah.
it, you probably pull the top corner down. So you end up making that wedge there. And then the next layer, you just go up against that.
It
So
all
it's
depends on which way you're shooting. If you're going top to bottom or you're going bottom up, right? Because
yeah,
when
yeah,
you're shooting, right?
yeah. Generally you shoot bottom up. Like generally you shoot bottom up and then you just taper it. You just taper it with your wood trowel. Like if you're doing
Question,
shotcrete, you'll go ahead.
how come you would prefer it, or it's like, I guess, standard to shoot bottom up? Like, what is the difference between shooting top to bottom versus bottom up?
Well, it's usually something where you start a foot off the ground and you basically shoot the shotcrete just the way it's done. Brian, have you done the shooting with the shotcrete?
I've shot, but like the reason why I ask that is that sometimes we're excavating and we're going downwards, right? So we're shooting the walls and then we're going down, excavating, and we're shooting as we go down. Do you know what I
Now,
mean?
what's true of this detail is there's an 18-inch
Hmm.
pile there. So that is an 18-inch pile. So when we put our pile in, we weld tabs on the pile, almost like lugs that hold the rebar. So you end up
Hmm.
with the soil is never going to be collapsing soil because generally the pile arches between next pile. Those are vertical members. So they end up just being trimmed. And but the two shotcrete layers are coming into the building. And then if you put a third layer on, you'd have final wall. It'll be a lot easier, Brian, when we go to do it in the job with you and William and
Yeah.
stuff
So
like
I
that.
Well,
guess it will
100%.
help, like this chemical will help control the shrinkage or the cracking as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
generally,
no cracking, basically.
yeah,
Okay.
there's no cracking because I'm going to be putting, like I can put other things in the concrete, but I would probably put basaltic fibers. There's a supplier out of Windsor that's a friend of mine, David Lawn, and I would probably put his basaltic fibers in the mix. And then all you really have to do is get the ready mix guy. You give him direction. You say, mix this much. They're used to mixing fibers with concrete, and then that would be anti-crack. But
Will it
because of
affect the water cement ratio?
well, it's a good question. What happens is you end up with saving cement. So in other words, the product is it's a nano hybrid. There's 5 nanos in there. And because it's so like a nanotechnology, it's pretty well like dust, right? So when you mix that 5 nano together, each nano layer, each nano component acts like uh, the water beads on it. If you were to pour a slab with that and then come back the next day, Brian, you could pour water, like spray water on it, and the water would bead on the slab. It's unlike anything really in terms of the industry, what the industry has, because the industry has, you know, pretty well, it's all the same. But the nanotechnology of Chem Concrete waterproof hybrid nano is a world patent. They're setting up in every country. And Jim has it for the US, somebody I recommended to Sam. And then Boris has it for Ontario. The issue is that Boris is in, he's a good guy. The Boris is in Sudbury. He does precast. So the only time he's really used it is in his own product, precast. But for him there's a great opportunity for us, and I'm talking to Bashir and William about, and obviously Keller, to get them to use it in the waterproof wall.
Now, where is this project? Where is this? What kind of project is this best on? Like where you see the most value when using this? Like,
well, anytime they do secant walls, you can replace them with this FEH tool.
Anything that's being done shotcrete, you could replace it with this.
Yeah, generally these involve piles. So I want to replace secant piles. I can save $100 a square foot over what the secant pile costs with less chance of leaks. There's really no chance of leaks. I mean, I'm willing to offer 5 and 15 year. With these details, this is a water management system. When I got the patent guy was pretty quick to pick up on the fact that what you have is a water management system. So it'll never leak. Because the water. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, finish that and then.
Yeah, the drains are 18 inches wide. They can be wrapped with a bit of filter cloth, but generally the dimples are to the inside. And then you would end up with no leaks. Like if the water drops vertically, an engineer I know very well, Nader Ansari, who works with Matt Janes, he always said the rate of evaporation in Toronto soils exceeds the rate of leakage. So if you give it a chance to evaporate within the matrix of the drain board, the water will never make it to the bottom. But when you're doing secant piles, you really have, you have clay smushed up against it. You're trying to make an interlock, and that's what 95% of the people do. Sometimes they do straight soil nailing, but not with this concrete. And my system involves piles, 18-inch piles instead of 24-inch piles, and two layers of 5-inch. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, like, coming to think of it, like, how does it perform in extreme weathers, like whether if it's hot or cold? Does it shorten the lifespan, or does it have any effect on extreme weathers?
Like compared to normal concrete, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Generally, we don't work in minus 30.
Okay.
So, if you're not placing the concrete in negative temperatures, there's always a bit of winter protection concepts in terms of like engineers specify concrete quality control. I'm going to take the opportunity to mention Jim Kaler is in Los Angeles. Jim at durabilityconsultants.com. And his mobile is 330-650-4263. So everybody can call him. If he want, I told him you better be ready for lots of orders. My patents are going to use most of it because of what, when you replace secant piles, it's probably by far the biggest use of it, in terms of what it could do. I mean, there'll be some water treatment plants that'll let me get Boris here. So Boris Nanuff, he's at bnanuff at rcil.ca, Rainbow Concrete. They do, anyway, his mobile number, 705-688-6462. So those are the guys that can sell you the admix. And all I want to do is rep it, Brian. I just want to be, involved with it on my own patents and let somebody else buy it. The
Now
developer
we know it's safe.
usually pays for concrete anyway.
Yeah. Now I know this procedure saves money on the whole project, but does it? How about time? Because now instead of waterproofing it,
Yeah.
you have to pour a second wall. So time
Well,
wise, is it faster or same time or?
it's much faster because you shoot it, and when after you shoot the two layers, the piles go in quick, and after you shoot two layers, you're basically complete. Like your water, you don't have to spend time on waterproofing because
Correct.
that second 5-inch layer is waterproof. It would, it will never leak because you keep in mind your vertical rate of evaporation exceeds the rate of leakage, so you end up with the water dropping vertically down the drain board. You can't see it here, but there's one picture that shows a drain board um, in plan. And that plan view, it it would be on my website,
No.
but yeah. So it's quicker, Brian. And to
Yeah.
answer your
It's
question,
quicker
anytime
too.
you're placing less concrete, you can pretty
Oh,
well count on it being quicker.
you said that it replaces 10% of the Portland or whatever that you would put in, 10 to 20%. So are you adding 10 or 20% of this nanotechnology stuff, this
No,
Chem
you're
Concrete?
not. No, it's
Okay.
really the nanotechnology that goes in this is actually affordable. So I believe that their product is lower cost than crystalline, but 3 times more waterproof. So it's a game
And when
changer.
you're taking out 10% of the Portland, how much are you adding of this stuff?
Well, that's already part of the formula. So in other words,
I see.
the cost of the nano is basically barrels of dust. They have a way of handling it. It becomes the product turns out to be a gray yogurt.
Yeah.
So when you have that gray yogurt, one of the key applications I think that I've identified is when William and I have talked, and when you use the gray yogurt, you can use it in mining, and you can. Have you ever done dry mix shotcrete, Brian? So dry
Dry
mix,
mix shocking.
generally it's a small quantity, but what's true of dry mix shotcrete is that's what they use in mining. So they get Sika bags or whatever shotcrete. Well,
Yeah.
and then you spray it through a hose and you put water at the nozzle. So instead of just water, we can put yogurt with the water. So we can
I understand.
that liquid admixture. So you can actually make waterproof underground mining concrete. I see that as a key application for it. And that Keller wants to get into mining. So when I tell them
Hmm.
that we can connect all these dots for them, they're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah. And this thing is stronger. It's a stronger product. It's a waterproof product versus what we're using now. And I think we're gonna know. I think there's gonna be a trend to a lot more underground stuff. They're already want to do underground tunnels and lots of subway and stuff. I think there's gonna be a higher demand for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could break into the institutional specifications, but that'll take a
Yeah.
while. But with a company like Keller, they might be able to, because they have
Correct.
lots of engineers, lots
What's
of
the
people.
age of it like for Chem Concrete right now? Like
Well,
how for how long people are using it or
Well,
how
are
long has
they
it
it's
been
only
invented?
like
yeah,
Boris has had it for 2 years, so I
okay.
got involved with
It's
it,
very new.
and then I met Boris, and Jim has had it for 2 years, and they haven't really sold a lot, mainly because I don't think they're contractors, and they don't necessarily have the right geographic area. I mean,
I don't think
in
anyone
Sud,
knows about it. I don't think it's been marketed properly. I don't think anybody
well,
knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
that's one
I
of the reasons why you wanted to do this podcast in the first place, because we want to have somewhere where people can see these new innovations, and because I don't think people even know that this exists.
Yeah, and we're happy to give out the phone number of Boris and Jim, which I did. So
Yeah.
my number is 519-240-6334, Martin Hallowell.
And he likes long walks on the beach.
Yeah, it's been a while since I had a long one. How did you know that? I do it for exercise, but I do it in the summer.
Dante, this reminds me when Kevin Hart put Nick Cannon's number on on the billboard, and he said, "For fatherly advice, call Nick Cannon," and he put it on the billboard. And like this is like the billboard. If this goes viral, you know, everyone's gonna know these guys. You know what I mean?
What movie's that? That was a movie.
No, it's in real life. It
Yeah,
It's
happened in
a
he
real
put
life. Yeah, these two.
his
Martin.
number on a billboard.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
always playing tricks on each other. Yeah, yeah.
One
So
of
it
the
was the
funniest
ultimate. It
comedian.
was the ultimate trick. Yeah. So, but that's the people that you got to get a hold of to get this Chem Concrete. That's the only people that have it available.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the
Shotcrete,
education is very
I hope-
necessary.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But it takes a while. Anything that's like, for instance, crystalline's well known. There's Zypex, there's Crichton. Everyone knows it costs
What about going to
$75.
what about going to like Lafarge or to and these ready mix companies and offering this as a product to add and then educating people that
You
way?
got to get it. You have to get it specified, right? Like, you know,
Mhm.
if you go into a ready mix place, they'll say, "Oh, what do you want?" You know, in other words, if you get specified, we'll talk to you about what it costs. But you have to go out, like people like me have to go out and get specified. The benefit
What does
is I can
specified? What does specified mean? I'm asking for
Well,
a friend. What does specified mean?
Well,
That was going to be my question, actually.
No. Well, it means that you have to get
I
an
got you, Doctor.
engineer. You have to get an engineer to put it in a specification.
I understand.
And
Aren't you an engineer? Aren't you an engineer, Martin?
Well, I got it in there. I didn't put it on these
Okay,
drawings. I didn't
so
put
we
it on
already
these
have
drawings.
the cook.
I found it after the drawings. I have the
Yes.
details and the patents that can specify it. Because I own the patent, I can specify it.
And what made you even think of getting this in the first place? Like what possessed you to say, "Hey, this is something that we got." Like what were you looking for when you found this? Like, can you tell us that?
Well, when I created my waterproof wall patent, I was working on a nanocolloidal silica with a basaltic fibers. And then I discovered Chem Concrete. I jumped on it and I started saying, well, this would be better. This has better performance characteristics. So I started thinking, well, you know, when I start dealing with Keller, I'll tell them this is the product you want to use, not only on the waterproof wall, but also in mining. Because if you have a yogurt and you could put the yogurt, which is a liquid, with the water on the way to the nozzle for dry mix shotcrete, it's a game changer for mining. And I joined the Canadian Mining Association, by the way, Brian. So I put CH shotcrete in there under trade suppliers or whatever, and they're very nice people. Mining is a pretty good industry, and Keller wants to get into mining. So all I got to do is connect all these dots over the next week or two, and I think I'll be quite busy. I'm going to probably have to go work for them. That's my main thing. I'm going to.
Well, I think to for it to really take off properly, I think by being on site, I think it'll make world of difference. Plus, we could shoot a lot of good video. We could get a lot of good what do you call it? A lot of good media. So actually seeing it live and really showing people what it is, right?
Yeah, it costs money to show people, but you know, if you have a project, then it's part of just walking on the job with your iPhone and shooting film, right?
Correct.
For the most people, like a good foreman, like yourself, Brian, or a good laborer, you can explain it to them in a huddle. You can,
100%.
you get the
But
equipment right.
Martin,
Yep.
the thing is when you'll be the point is this that you want to make sure that this pattern is being shown to the massive audiences, and from there that will automatically narrow it down, right? So the point is the thing is, as Keller is going to be working with you, or you're going to be working with Keller once they buy your patents, then right after that you could use that. Uh, I mean, you could also propose that as well, that this needs to be promoted well and needs to be specifically promoted. And if you create educational videos with motion graphical content that showcases the whole 3D model of how it actually happens,
Mhm.
it will then go viral. Okay,
So
when it
what?
goes viral. Hmm.
Tell me more about those videos. Are they? Is that something your company does? Like
I
it
mean,
sounds like it's almost animated, right? Animated. Like
yes, yes,
this drawing would have layering that could be removed and it could be stepped, almost like
absolutely.
a process, right?
The whole process we are just talking right now, like 30-40 minutes, we're gonna like we'd have to summarize that like in a compact 2 minutes or 3 minutes video, where we could have a voiceover explaining that what's happening. We could have that steps, how it's installed, what kind of benefits you can get, and then we need to portray it in a way so that most of the people can see, just like we see on the shorts, right? We
Mhm.
summarize the whole podcast in like 5 different videos, short videos. So it's all about just putting that diagram that you have in a way that it goes to the massive audiences, and from there automatically uh, there will be much more difference that you would see, demand that you will see for this thing.
Yeah, you're right. That would be. We should talk more about that, Mohammed, relative to using Brian and myself, and how do we get like what do we do? We just create a separate Zoom section where we just brainstorm that and try to come up with sections of almost like, are you able to take this drawing and
Hmm.
and and create the order of layering? So you would show in plan view. We need another plan view that
F1, yeah.
shows the pile, Brian. Um,
Yeah.
so then it would
All,
be a little clearer.
yeah. Or
Well,
There
if
is
I
yeah, and
a
then
have
you could.
like a document or something where it just showcases the installation and the kind of benefits that I can get from it, the layering
Mhm.
and the animation is not an issue. It can be created. I just need to have the proper understanding of how it actually installed and done. I'm understanding from you guys right now, but
Mhm.
once it's documented, then I can get the help of AI as well, so and get this thing, in
Mhm.
a
so you
portrait in a way.
I'll send them my
so
little cartoon, Martin. I have a little construction guy cartoon. We'll use him in the showing of the how to do it. You know what I mean? His AI will make my cartoon work. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. You know, my little
The-
construction guy, I have him, right? That little someone animated it for me. It was cool. But yeah, but this is all good stuff that we can definitely do to help kind of illustrate this. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of people will get it when just by looking at it, but not everybody will understand everything unless they actually see like a little video or, more step by
see
step kind of thing. So
see
that'll be great.
Mohammed, this is what
hmm,
we call a section view. This is a
right,
section of the, but there's a plan view that
right,
when we look at the plan view with the section view, and
hmm,
Mhm.
maybe we can do this in subsequent podcasts. A plan view with the section view, and we
Mhm.
try to
hmm,
describe the waterproof wall where it's clear that the step involves this drain board's applied. So you could maybe get it into 10 steps, or
okay,
Yeah.
and then it'd be a lot easier for you to animate
Hmm.
absolutely. And
No, very good.
Martin, like we talked about FEB2 you sell last week as well,
Yeah,
and we talked about this as well. These are literally game-changing uh,
packaging.
solutions that you're providing, literally. Like, so it just needs, you're right, Brian. It haven't been marketed, and
Yeah.
it needs to be marketed, and I'm sure that it can be introduced in the engineering, or the books that people read in their colleges or university, where they study like 20, 30 years old technology. They could just study this and understand that there can be some
Mhm.
experiment done related to that, and there can be some funding that like businesses like Keller Group can provide to guys like Martin and Brian, who could just, because who knows this stuff, and then who could just uh,
Mhm.
do it, because you guys have this proper understanding, and you invented this, Martin. So it's like something that you know how to build it from scratch, and you know how and where you could use it. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's really great.
like I did bypass shotcrete at my old company, HCM, and we did a single layer, and we had the 18-inch piles with the concrete shot against the earth, and we didn't have to put any drains at that time. But now I've added in drains and certain things that would please an engineer. So if we could
Mhm.
animate it, that would probably be a good first step. It's just going to be probably going to happen pretty quick where we get an opportunity to build them.
Yeah.
I don't know
We'll
if
have to
that would
show.
yeah, it'd be
Yeah, we'll have to
easier
show
to,
him some what shotcrete looks like and all that, so that he can animate it properly,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
right?
with AI, you can get shotcrete, eh, Mohammed?
Well, sure, yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean the tools themselves and everything else, and how you can actually see the actual tools that we would use, the
Yeah.
actual pump that sprays it out, the mixer, all
Yeah.
that stuff we can show.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You
that'll be a
you would
fun. That'll
need
be a
some sort
really
of
cool
like
project when it's all said and done.
you would need some
Uh,
sort
Sorry,
of
what was
like
that?
reference material for the AI, right? Because you could be like, okay,
Correct.
yeah.
have some concrete shooting out of a hose, and it understands those two things, but it doesn't understand it
Yeah,
as one thing, right? So if we have
yeah,
video where it's like the actual like mixing and stuff, and then it's okay, AI this process, then it'll be able to draw from those
correct.
kind of sections and be like, okay, it
Yeah,
understands this, and then understands
yeah.
the last part of the
Mohammed,
process.
I like Perplexity. I actually pay for Perplexity to have that AI system. It's a good
Perplexity
one.
is very good for research purposes. Okay.
Which do you have several types of AI in your agency?
Yes. Yes, we use Claude, ChatGPT. Claude has like four different models. Apart from Claude, we use Gemini, we use uh, Perplexity. It's a very complex word. So yeah, Perplexity. And then there's another word, one as well that, there are so many other models that we are using, but most of the time, my personal favorite is Claude. Okay. It has like 3 to 4 different models. It's like $17 a month USD. Give it a try, and it could literally draft things for you that you cannot do it. You can also create your own AI agent right now that would act as your personal secretary, remind you the task that needs to be done, analyze things for you, get things done faster, and then while you're sleeping, you could just tell them or give them the task. For example, you want to just do something. Let's say that you want to design a pitch deck for Keller Group, right? For something else. So you could just tell him the everything, give him the data, and then you could sleep. By the time you wake up, you already have a full-on pitch deck ready for you to present to them, right? So it, it's like there are so many things that can be used through AI, where it used to take like 2 months. You could just do that work not in 1 week or 2 weeks. You could just do that work in like 24 to 48 hours. The
Yeah.
work
So
that
Yeah.
what's gonna
used to
happen? What's
require.
gonna happen to everybody who had the job of doing that for 3 months? Now AI is going to do it in one day. What's going to happen to all those people? They're going to get a bonus and go home, or what?
They they will certainly, feel the wrath of AI. They would need to learn AI. They would have to adapt it. Otherwise, it's very hard, to go because AI is going to beat you. Maybe in the next 3, 4 years, it is going to be trained more. It will have more data than what it is right now, and it will be more intelligent than what it is right now. Like if we compare the video generation of 2020 and 2026 right now, there is a difference between, like, there's 100% difference. It
Yeah.
has
Our
evolved a
technology
lot.
doubles, like, yeah,
Yeah.
our
Like the
technology
video
doubles
you
every few
watch.
years.
I don't know, Dante, maybe you must have watched the video Will Smith eating the
The
spaghetti,
spaghetti. Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, if you look at the 2020 video, that's totally different and that's rubbish. And if
Yep.
you look at the video right now, it just looks so fucking real, and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot even imagine that. That's
Well, the
computer
latest the
generated.
latest one was Yahoo, Netanyahu. That
That's
was a
I was gonna say
beautiful.
they need to
The
get
last
him on
one
the
they
newest
did was
version.
so close. If it wasn't for the coffee, he would have got away with it. He would have got away with it. I'm telling you. It wasn't for he got the guy be and he did. You know why I believed? You know why it got me at first? I really thought it was real because he didn't leave a tip, and that's such a Jewish thing to do, is not leave a tip. I thought it was a real. I didn't think it was AI, but then I looked again, and then I was like, oh, maybe they just programmed that in the. You know what I mean? Like, how do you program that in the AI? You just say make him extra Jewy today. Like, how does that? How does the AI know not to leave a tip? That's all I want to know is how did AI know not
Yeah.
to leave a tip? It didn't know how to give him six fingers. It gave him you know what I mean? It didn't know how to give him the right hand. But how did it know not to give a tip? That's what I want to know. That's AI is going to take over because it knows not to leave a tip. Like how? How is that possible?
Well, even now, like you're talking about, like with all this agentic AI stuff, right? All these new AIs are able to kind of like train themselves, right? So like
Yeah.
one AI can watch another video that a different AI made and then train itself
Hmm.
off that AI while you're sleeping,
Absolutely.
right? So
And you know
people,
how you can use AI to find if something's AI? Well, there's a way to beat it too. So even the AI doesn't know that it's AI. Like it's crazy. They've been leaving little things, but you know who's not scared? You know who's
Mohammed,
not scared of AI taking their job?
I sent you another drawing. Have a quick look at this drawing
Let me
uh,
see.
that I sent you. I sent it
Okay.
to, I think I sent it to everybody there, but I just wanted,
Yes.
Mohammed, I think, is
I'm just gonna
sharing.
copy off Dante.
hold
Yeah,
on, I'm gonna open it up. Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
Because
I'm
you
just
just
gonna
sent
watch.
it
I'm
to
just
me.
gonna copy off Dante. You know who's not
Are you
scared of AI taking their job? Portuguese construction workers. You want to know why? Because you got to teach the AI how to do the job. Who's going to teach it? Some old Portuguese guy? Are you crazy? As soon as that robot doesn't do the right thing the first time, Bimba is going to get hit with a shovel. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
That's not going to
Absolutely.
learn. The
I would have
AI
to
is not
The
agree.
taking
only thing
anybody's
that AI can replace, it's the construction, the plumbing, the
job.
electrician, because that's where AI cannot physically come, right? That's like the only thing. Like you can, uh, and that's so fascinating, People used to run away from these things because it was hard and used to go to computers and it's easy to do, right?
They were
And
told
now,
ever since I was a kid, I was told, oh, you got to go to school, get a good job and stuff. And they
yeah,
frowned upon trades. And now
yeah,
Okay,
all of
look
a
at
sudden,
this then.
trades are
This
making as much as doctors.
now,
absolutely.
now, Mohammed, if I show you this level of detail now, so
Yeah.
these things are called spigots. You know, that
Hmm.
pipe on the front there, it's called a spigot. So here's one right here. So basically, I got one right here. So it's like this thing that's made this way with tabs. Now these tabs also are put on the piles. You see on the piles, it's called a weld clip. So that weld clip allows for that shotcrete to grab onto that first layer, Brian.
Mm.
And that's why that'll never move. It's extremely strong. Like the concrete, when the concrete's put on with those tabs, it ends up being what we call composite action. So the beam, even though the beam might be 18 at 45, it acts like a 24 at 68 because the front of the beam has 50 MPa concrete on those clips. It'll never pull off. And that's a waterproof wall. That's basically a waterproof wall. So I don't know if that helps. Who drew the circle?
I don't know what's going
That
on.
was me.
That might have been me.
That was me. I was touching stuff.
Were you actually?
You're like a kid, Brian. You're like,
Oh, I
looks
love
like
this stuff.
this looks like an
A little
apple.
circle. I was circling it.
Anyway, I
worked
tend
in
to
an
agree.
office. I worked in an office before. I know how to touch the computer.
No, you messed it
They'll
up,
never,
dude.
they'll never,
Oh, it's right here. Hold on. I found it.
I
they'll
could touch
never.
it.
So, Mohammed, did you see that picture? You understand that
Yes.
it gives you a different view. Now, it might be possible to take those combined views from my website and make an animated video that shows, for instance, the build. Like if the pile goes in
You would
first,
show.
and then the 5 MPa goes up around it, and
Correct.
those tabs don't go on until they trim the face of the pile from the 5 MPa. So then they go on, the welding goes on, and then those tabs and that spigot, it all becomes part of the system. So it's extremely robust.
Mm.
The dimensions are fairly accurate. I don't know if there might even be enough information there that we could try an animated video. Right now, I have engineers that are ready to use this. Like Isherwood is my favorite engineer. Matt James is in Vancouver, and he runs the Vancouver office. And Natter I've known for a long time. So I think they're prepared to sell it to the city of Toronto because to replace the crap on the subways and whatnot, it's going to take the right engineer.
Yeah.
And so
the infrastructure in Toronto, a lot of the older stuff, is it going to need replacing or it's always under repair? Like, how is that, Martin?
Well, that's a good question, but generally the infrastructure, I've always felt that if you use V-Rod or MST rebar and Chem Concrete, you could end rehab. So right now they use, the MTO calls up MST rebar on the, or V-Rod, a glass rebar. And so it's completely resistant to salt. But then what happens to the permeability? So if you have the concrete matrix and you're able to put Chem Concrete in the matrix and it beads water, then conceivably we could end rehab. Instead of doing all this rehab and fixing bridges.
Yeah, they're always fixing.
And it's basically because of the porosity of the concrete and salt spray underneath the gardener, right? It's cold going up there all the time. So they tear sections down and big rehab costs, which I guess is jobs, but it's a
crazy thing though. It's a crazy thing because we're paying for that. Like tax money is being used on this, and then it's not being used on potholes and stuff. But even like this Chem Concrete, could you add it to other stuff? Like I just said,
you can put it in any concrete.
What about asphalt or something like that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, Brian. We're on the same wavelength, dude.
I know.
What if you made roads out of these?
It's also made up.
Most people there's a lot of concrete paving out there, right? So, in my opinion, it'd be appropriate to go to concrete paving, provided you can keep it rough. But there's no reason to use asphalt really, other than the fact they want to cover the bridge so they prevent the water from going in there, right? So what's the asphalt really for? To me, it's ripped up all the time.
Really.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just a flat, because the asphalt itself is kind of garbage. Like you have
Yep.
to replace it every what, 5 to 10 years?
In
yeah.
Toronto, that's optional. You don't have to replace it.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can have a pothole for 5 of those years, right? But and that's what I mean. But asphalt, here's the thing: asphalt is one of those businesses where they're using like roof, like all the shingles from the roof. So where's that going to go, to the landfill? No, we're going to grind it up and put it on our roads. It's using up tires. Where we're going to put tires? Oh, we'll grind it up and put it in the asphalt. You know what I mean? It
Mm.
uses a lot of. It uses even the old asphalt. When they grind up the old asphalt, they take that, grind it up again, throw it back in the mix. On highways like the 407, well, 407 is concrete, but I mean, highways and stuff, they use better graded asphalt, but then the lower grades, so like the first coat of asphalt or maybe someone's driveway, right, might have more of that recycled stuff in it.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a lower grade. So asphalt is one of those things that they're making money by ripping it up, reusing it, putting it back again. Right? There's even we even have one mobile um, system that grinds up, like you're driving down a road, they'll grind it up. It goes through the machine, it gets mixed with new chemical, gets put back down and packed, and that's our first level now. That's our first grade. And they add a little more asphalt if they need it. But it's like as they're driving, they're just ripping it up and putting it back down.
Wow.
And that's our
Yeah.
first level for the road. That's the
So
first layer of asphalt. They put two
if
layers, call it a day.
if this
Do they
was
call that
like
HL3 or do they call that HL1? There's
I think
layers.
HL3 and HL1 is the grade of the asphalt. So like, I was so bad at this. They're like, so one of them, HL1 or HL3, depends on the size of the rock, how much stone is in it, how much of the, you know what I mean? So one of them has more. One of them you don't see the rock, and one of them you see more. So the finish, like one of them is like a finish asphalt, and the bottom one has more
oh
coarse stone,
yeah.
has bigger stone. That's the base, right?
Yeah.
I worked a little bit of asphalt. I wasn't so much into the lingo, right? And I forget which one's HL3, which one HLH, and all this stuff. They have a whole bunch of different grades, right?
Hmm.
But basically, it's the finer, like the top stuff is like fine. You don't see so much rock, right?
Yeah.
So you see more asphalt.
Yeah, like like those
Although,
ones when your neighbor got like the smooth driveway or something, and you're like, oh, I want to go
yeah,
skateboard on
super
that. Like
black.
and it's super dark.
Yeah, so
So one of
theirs
those
has
is
more
HL3 and
tar
then
in it.
yeah.
Yes, and so it has less. It has, if it has stone, it has smaller stone versus coarser stone.
Hmm.
But the coarser stone, I believe it's better for, like, it's more durable. But the thin, the one with the little stone, like the top coat, has more tar in it, so it's also more malleable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So basically, with the heat driving over it with your tires, it almost always keeps it shiny, like keeps it smooth,
Hmm.
right? So,
Now,
but it's one of those things that you got to keep fixing every few years.
with something like Chem Concrete, now would you even want to use that for a driveway? Because one of the things with the asphalt is that the water kind of goes through it. But if the water is always on top of the Chem Concrete driveway, like
It would,
it would have to drain
like, on a
somewhere,
driveway. On a
or like a
driveway,
road
you
or
always have
something.
slope. Like you have
Yeah,
True.
slope on the
yeah,
driveway, right? So
Hmm.
the water
yeah.
is supposed to beat off your driveway. So
Yeah.
by having something that doesn't allow water to go through is actually better. It's just
Okay.
your control. You got to control the water off of,
Yeah.
right? Your water always has to go. It has to stay
Somewhere.
within your property, but it's got to go to the sides of your property usually, unless you have a drain in the middle. But usually it wants to go away from your property. So
Hmm.
your driveway has a little bit of slope.
Yes.
Water's getting off of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, if it doesn't absorb water, it's better, and that's why concrete does crack in the winter,
Yeah.
Hmm.
because it
It absorbs
absorbs
the water,
water.
and then the water
Yeah,
Yeah, and
expands.
then if there's a little hairline crack, because concrete will move, the ground will move, whatever, depending on how the base is, and it all goes back to the workmanship. if it was done properly, right? So if there's a little hairline crack over the winter, the water gets into it and it expands when it gets cold, it
Yep.
freezes it'll break everything, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's all. That's a whole bunch of stuff. The Chem Concrete will make it 95% waterproof. For
Mhm.
me, I always think like if you're gonna do walls, this would work really well, especially if it's something underground, right? Because underground is where you have all the water problems. You
Mhm.
ever have a leaky basement? It's because there's water up against the house. Usually, when you have a leaky basement, first thing you should do is check your grading. How's the grading around the house? Is the water spout facing towards the house and a big pool of water is collecting every time it rains? Does your driveway go backwards? Are all your patio stones slanted into the house? All the water go, you know what I mean?
Oh
That's
yeah.
the first thing. That's the first thing you do. And then after that's done, 95, like most, I'm not like most of the problems are solved just by the outside grading, right? And then if you
Yeah.
have a crack in your wall or something, that's something different. But if there's no water coming there in the first place, you have no problem.
Yeah. It's not.
So
Yeah.
grading is a huge thing. And a lot of people's houses, you'll notice, like over the years, it sank around the house with sediment and stuff. And then usually if they have a wet basement or a leaky basement, it's because of that. There's
Mhm.
always water around their house and their weeper system isn't working properly. So that there's been a lot of problems with houses. Like I fixed a lot of basements where there was water coming into the basement. So first thing I did, I'd walk around the house and there was usually a water pipe from the roof that's leaking, and that's the corner that has the leaky
Mhm.
spot in the basement because there's always water there. You know what I mean? So, but with this Chem Concrete, even if things were
Yeah, I mean,
messed up outside,
if the wall was solid and
yeah, you wouldn't have any
didn't have any
worries.
cracks, then
Mhm.
basically
Yeah,
you could let the water go over the edge, and it wouldn't end
yeah,
up, you know. Mind you, I always like to put gravel in the basement, right? So the gravel, if you put 6 inches of gravel before you pour your slab, the water would
actually.
never get above that.
What if you had a leaky basement with cracked walls? Couldn't we shoot 5 inches of Chem Concrete on the inside of the walls?
Well, it'd be quite a bit of work for a basement, right? Like basically, there's no steel to work with. So you end up with cracked walls. So then you can't really fix that. You have to have a system that's solid with rebar and the wall never cracks, right? So, like,
Like, couldn't you
in
put it on
commercial
the
buildings, go ahead.
couldn't you put it on the inside? Just you have a shitty wall. It was done like maybe it's an old building. It's garbage. So the outside, it's instead of tearing the whole thing down, couldn't we reinforce it somehow? Maybe maybe just drill rebar in the ground, make a cage in front of it, and shoot it.
Well, that's why you're the laborer, Brian. That's why you've got to
That's
get an
why I ask
engineer.
questions.
And invariably, the owner hires an engineer. I'm not saying
Yeah,
they're not all good, but certainly every situation's a bit different, and the engineer has to assess what situation am I looking at, right?
yeah,
And what's the most cost effective way to give the client what he needs.
Mhm.
So not having the concrete crack helps. Concrete's pretty well
correct.
impermeable. It's only when it cracks. But
Which it
Yeah,
chem
then it
usually
starts to
concrete,
does.
deteriorate.
yeah,
Yeah.
chem concrete certainly. And if you drain the outside wall, Brian, with
Yeah,
mirror board, put board there, the water will never make it to the underfloor weeper.
you should almost go on
Most,
the outside.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, if you were going to repair, the outside is always better. But the reason why I say the inside is a lot of buildings, like in Toronto or whatever, they're touching. You know what I mean? So you don't have room on the outside to repair. And because that's a waterproof product, if it's a big basement, like a big underground parking or something, and you're able to shoot 5 or 6 inches or even 10 inches against the wall, make a whole new wall, almost like an underpin, but maybe that wouldn't work.
So I'd like to thank everyone for listening today. Another episode of the Contractors Innovation Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we appreciate all the input that we got tonight from Brian and from all the other co-hosts in today's podcast. It was unfortunate that our friend Nazim didn't join us. I'm going to try and meet him on the weekend with William. But he's got to be more responsive. He should have joined us because I'd already cleared it with Jim and Boris to say, you guys can't make it, but let Nazim come on, because he would have talked about his early days marketing Chem Concrete for Sam. Anyhow, there's a good future in dry mix shotcrete with Chem Concrete in mining. God bless everybody. I'm gonna let everyone go.
Baby, I need to know